Well, all right. Welcome to White Noise. I am Gerald White, and today we have William Wilson, the clothier, and first African American NASCAR champion. Welcome to the show, William. All right. And we're live. There we go. Can't hear any white noise right now. Tap dancing, huh? There he is.
I'm trying to unmute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to
There he
connect my
is.
headphones. My headphones connected to something, but I'm not sure what it connected to. I tried to connect it so it wouldn't be so noisy in here. I'm in the hotel room and I didn't want to
Well,
be so
William
noisy.
Wilson, the clothier, and first African American NASCAR champion. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So you're traveling. Part of our technical difficulties. You're in Savannah, I take it, right?
Yeah, doing my break 85. I did my break 85 for Georgia today.
Okay. So let's tee it up right there with golf. Um,
I see
this
what you
is
did
break.
there.
Oh, I did something, did I? Tell me about Break 85, the Break 85 tour.
Well, it's the Break 85 presented by Encore Golf. There, I'm doing a nationwide tour where I'm playing all 50 states to see if I can break 85 or lower, shoot 85 or lower on a course I've never seen before.
So where did this love of golf come from, and where did it start?
It started from there were these three older guys, Thayer, Mike, and Marshall. There used to be this sports bar called Coaches in Charlotte years ago, and they've been, they've been buddies for 40 years. And I used to sit and watch games and stuff with them. So it was just a lot of fun just talking with them, just kind of hanging out. They remind me of the old guys back at home when I was growing up as a kid in the country.
Right.
And I'd watch football with them, and then we started watching golf and stuff like that. So they were watching golf and everything. So I'd watch with them, and I started just really interested in the game, and I loved the game. And I needed a challenge because coming out of the military, I had nothing to really not say push the adrenaline, but really push me, past my normal day to day, world of civilian life. And listening to them, I hear these guys all the time. They've been playing golf forever and they still sucked. And I'm like, how this makes no sense that you can, graduate college and be flying F-15s over Iraq in 18 months, but it takes you 18 years to hit a golf ball down a patch of grass.
Right.
That
Right.
makes no sense to me. So I started taking lessons, and I just really just fell in love. I really just started getting involved just for something, just something to do, just to push me. I just fell
Mhm.
in love with the game, the overall aspects of the game.
So is that the driving force behind the Break 85 tour?
No, the Break 85 tour, I play a lot of golf, obviously, and I just want to know if I could break 85 on a course I've never played before. Because I was always told, if you've never played a course before, a good golfer to be shooting, try to shoot 90. Don't try to shoot par. Try to shoot bogey golf, which would be 90 on most golf courses.
Hmm.
So I thought, if I could, show up at a course I never played before and then set the bar higher, shooting 85 versus trying to shoot 90, they can give me something even more so to go after. So I talked with Brett, the co-founder of Encore Golf, and we talked about it, and we put a deal together.
So what's the nicest course you played?
Um, the club at Lac La Belle. It's in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. It's dead center between Madison and Milwaukee.
Hmm.
And it used to be a private course that like J.C. Woolworth and J.C. Penney and all those guys way back in the day used to be members of. And a friend of mine, Tyler Moore, his dad bought the course in 2017. And they took it. It's a public course now, but it's in immaculate shape. But of course, it's Milwaukee, so it's only open so many months a year. Matter of
Right.
fact, they still haven't
Right.
opened yet. They open, I
Hmm.
think, May 5th for rounds. They're open from May to October.
Okay.
That's
And
the
is that
nicest. And it's a public course, like $167 to play.
was that also your best experience in terms of golf, a round of golf?
Oh no, no.
So what was your best experience in terms of a round of golf? Where was that played?
Um, it's hard to say because best score and best experience don't always correlate to each other. Because you can have a great time in a course and just really it can eat your lunch, or you can shoot a great score and the track just not be that difficult. Like I just shot my low score for the challenge so far today, so you guys are getting something breaking news because I
This
literally
is your
just
lowest.
came off the
What'd you
course,
shoot?
got in the lift, and drove here. I shot at 79.
79. All right, my man.
Yep. At the other course, what was it called? Crosswinds, and it was. I tell you, it's almost like two golf courses because the front nine is one of the most beautiful golf courses I've ever been on. But it's right off the road, right off the one of the main roads. So you get on the back nine, it's still a beautiful course, but it's more, it's kind of, it looks more like a regular. No, it's still a decent course, but it's much, 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 much more beautiful on the front.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
On the
Very
front,
cool.
I felt like I was on a private course. On the back, I felt like I was on a really nice public course.
So how many rounds have you played now in the Break 85 tour?
This is number 20.
This is number 20. And out of that
Yep,
20, how many have you broken 85?
I'm 11 and I'm 12 and 9. No,
12,
12 and 8.
12 and 8. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's
I,
impressive,
I,
brother.
I think
That's
it.
impressive. I'm going to take credit for this weekend because you were down in Miami. We were down in Miami together. Boca, actually, playing in a tournament
Mhm.
down there. How was your experience there?
Man, I had a great time. I met LT. We were playing in LT's tournament, and thank you for the invitation for that because you're the one that got me in there. So I appreciate that. But
Okay.
I met LT. I actually met LT at a charity golf tournament in Chateau Lawn last year.
Mm,
So we had a familiarity with each other. So when I saw him, this time I was like, man, got me down here. We posted a video, and LT being LT. But it was really cool, man. Cause like, a lot of guys in the league. I don't really don't get to play with a bunch of NASCAR guys. Normally I go to celebrity events. They're either actors, baseball players, football players, or something like that. It
hmm.
was cool. Like you and Ray Lewis, um, Javon Curse. Me and Javon talked a lot. And just a lot of guys. And I met you were out there that night when I met Trayvon Martin's mother at the
Yeah.
pairings party. I mean, it was really, and the golf course was nice too, but it was just really a cool experience overall.
That was his 16th, and it was a Sweet 16, so it was the last tournament that he was having for that particular cause. So it was a special
Yep.
time, a special place, and I'm glad that you could make it. That was awesome.
Yeah, there was no next year.
Exactly, exactly. So, William, I always like to call you the clothier because that's how we were introduced and that's how we met, from
Mhm.
from the clothing side of it. So, tell me about the clothier part. Well, I'm gonna back up. Yeah, let's get into the clothing. I'd really like to do that. What
Okay.
fashion, right?
Mhm.
Custom fashion. How'd you wind up in that industry?
Well, let me clarify one thing. I don't do fashion. I do style. They're
Oh,
very different.
two different
And the
things.
reason I say that fashion, someone tells you what's in fashion.
Okay,
It may be the really, 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 really tight pants. It may be wide bottoms or whatever. Madison Avenue tells you what's fashionable.
okay,
I focus more on style. Like, what's your personal style? Like me, I'm not a bow tie guy. I'm a necktie guy. If you
right,
ever see me in a bow tie, I have on a tuxedo. Whereas some people love wearing bow tie. And there was a
gotcha.
while where the bow tie was like the fashionable thing to be wearing, especially his brothers. Everybody had on bow ties. But that's not me. That's not my style. So I didn't hop on that because I knew I wouldn't enjoy wearing that. So I'm much more on the fashion side. But I really accidentally fell into that.
Tell me why. Tell me how.
I owned a construction company, and we not only did 8,000 square foot houses and up, and there was a homeowner we built on his house. It was about 15,000 square feet, and so we saw him a lot. But I had guys that were working on the houses. I was just pretty much just the boss. I checked my houses in the morning and in the afternoon. I had meetings and stuff all throughout the day. So one homeowners one day stopped me and said, "Man, Will, you always dress so nice. Could you help me put my wardrobe together?" And long story short, I helped him out. He started sending people to me. I started helping them out. But then it was getting to be so much that I started charging for it. And I started thinking like, and I was playing. I started to play golf really heavy too. So when I was in construction, we used to have a term called the go away price.
Okay.
If someone wanted you to do something and you didn't want to do it, you would just price it so high that they would just go away. So I told the guys, I said, "Yeah, I come take a look at your closet, whatever. It's gonna be $200 an hour, 2 hour minimum." The guy just said, "Okay." Now I'm a country boy from Arkansas. It's hard to get us to spend $200 on anything, let alone
Heard.
for somebody to come look through their closet and tell them how to put clothes together.
Right.
So I'm like, "Did you hear what I said?" He said, "Yeah, basically $400. Yeah, no problem." But I'm not thinking these are guys building 5, 10, 15, 20,000 square foot houses. They spend $400 at a lunch meeting.
Right.
So, but that wasn't the world I grew up in, so I didn't really know that. So, long story short, I started helping them out, and I started thinking to myself, these people are paying me to tell them what to go buy. If I can provide it, there may be a business in this.
Mm.
And so I just did some research, and Mike Minner and Mike Rucker were playing for the Panthers at the time. So I said, if you have your perfect clothing situation, what would it be? And they told me, and I said, so I kind of set my business model up there and just made a couple of adjustments, over the years, but it worked. And 14 months later, Calvin Richardson called me and asked me to make a suit for him for the Grammys. I made that for him. He got best dressed on the red carpet,
Okay.
and it just took off from there.
Took off from there. So wow, that's interesting. I did not know that. I did not know that about you, and I thought I knew a lot about you, but I did not know that about you at all. Construction.
There's many layers to the clothier onion.
We'll dig it, dig it. Um, so what goes into style? How would you style me? And is it
Well,
colors? Is it shape? Is it
there's more personality.
okay?
Like I would sit down with you and we do a consultation. I would sit down with you and find out what your personality is like. What are you looking for? What are you looking to get out of this? Because I need to know this because say you're an introverted person, but you're trying to be more extroverted, I need to step you through that process because I can put you in a suit to get you a lot of attention. If you're not really prepared for that much attention, now suddenly you're getting shocked by it. Now that may push you back further than you were before I met you.
Hmm.
So I know they say, okay, let's start with some custom shirts. Let's get a nice regular suit that fits you well and a couple of custom shirts to so you get used to feeling differently when you walk into a room.
So
And then build
there's a lot of thought that goes into what you're doing and who you're doing it for. It's not just what looks good on you and how it fits. There's some philosophy behind it. There's some thought process that goes into it.
right. Right. Because something may look good on you, but if you don't feel comfortable in it, it's just gonna be a $1,000 placeholder in your closet. You're never
Right.
gonna wear it. Whereas if there's something that's naturally you, now if some of the things that you're into are outdated, I'm gonna say, hey Gerald, you need to kind of move this up. Nobody wearing 4 button wide bottom suits anymore. Need to step up now. If you say no, William, this is what I want, I'll make it for you because at the end of the day, you go get custom to get what you want, not what someone tells you to get. And if
Right.
that's your style, you're gonna feel the most comfortable in your style. But I will continue to try to slowly wean you off of this to bring it to maybe a more fit suit. Not necessarily European cut or something like this. Something a little more fit, where you look a little more up to date. Don't look so circa 2005.
Heard.
But I just find your personality, what you're into, see where your boundaries are, and work within that space. So when you walk out and you get when I make that suit for you, you feel comfortable in it, you feel proud in it, you like what you see when you look in the mirror. Because it doesn't matter if I like it or if anybody else likes it. What matters is when you look in the mirror, you like what you see and you feel good because, like Michael Irvin said, you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. Well, Dion
Right.
said it. Well, I think Mike may have said it first. But when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. Or when you feel good, you're your best you.
So you're trying to get people to feel good about what they're wearing and feel good about themselves. Sweet, sweet.
Exactly.
Well, I think this is going to be a good spot for a quick break. We'll be back more with William Wilson, the clothier. You're listening to 102.9 The Game.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, all right, all right. And we're back to White Noise, powered by Bleacher Brothers Sports Network and Riptide Media. We're here with William Wilson, the clothier, and first African American NASCAR champion. So, style, man, how has your golf style influenced your style on custom made suits and things like that, or has it? Being in that world now.
No, not at all. I dress pretty much, again, my personal style is my personal style. So, like, you're not gonna see me in these golf shirts like I have almost like a Carolina blue golf shirt, but it's a solid shirt. You're not gonna see me with a bunch of flamingos and whales and roosters and stuff all over my shirt. Those really loud, look at me, peacock type stuff. You're not gonna see me in that because that's not my style. I've had brands approach me, want me to wear, like golf shirts and whatever, that kind of stuff. And I respectfully decline because I'll tell them, you have a great product, but it's not my style. I'd never wear it. So send me all these free shirts. It's not going to do any good. I know you spent money on these shirts. So sending to me, it's going to be in a closet, never to be worn. So I tell them, if they go to a more conservative, more classic look, maybe we can talk. But my personal style just fits across the board everywhere. So I don't necessarily have a golf style versus a corporate style versus a casual style. It's just I believe in a much more a settled, proper fit, but kind of stick to the. It once in a while I go outside the norm, but for the most part, even then, it's going to be black pants, white pants, whatever, and maybe some different colors, but it's not going to be anything overly loud and just begs for attention.
So who have you styled for? Who have you made custom clothes for? And I know that you've done some jackets for special events and things of that nature. Give us some examples of some of the things and some of the people you've done work for.
Yeah, I do the winner's jacket for the Coke 600 and the Bank America Roval, the two NASCAR races. Eddie Griffin, I've done stuff for George Lopez, D.L. Hughley, Jay Harris, James Anderson, just a number of people. I've done some
Comedians,
stuff
huh?
for
A
Steph
lot of
Curry.
comedians.
Yep, done some stuff for Steph Curry, Brevin Knight, Yao Ming. Like I've done a few things for some
Wow,
people.
y'all mean? Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
that was measure someone who's 7'6" is having to measure their shoulders, stand up in a chair to measure their shoulders is a different thing. Xavier McDaniel, Rhonda Mapp from the WNBA. So
okay.
just a number of people.
Very nice. Very nice. So you mentioned that you did some jackets for some NASCAR. As the first African
hmm
American NASCAR champion, what challenges did you face on that particular journey, and how did you overcome those?
Well, the challenges I faced was more getting into the sport in general, only because one, I was older. Because initially I wanted to be a driver. Because who doesn't know playing football? Who doesn't want to be a quarterback?
Right.
Basketball. Who doesn't want to be the point guard? NASCAR. Who doesn't want to be the driver? But I found out very early I was way too old when I even started pursuing this. So I was about 30 then. And but I went to a race with some friends of mine and I'm like, man, this is really cool. This seems very interesting. I want to get involved in this. And a guy named Steve Allen looked over me and said, look around. I looked around. The only people that looked like me had event staff on their shirt.
Hmm.
And I said, well, I don't care because all the NASCAR teams are based in Charlotte. You can just walk right up to the shops. So I
Right.
put together a whole driver development program. We're trying to shop it around. But as I said, I found out very early that wasn't going to work. And the first person to say yes to me on anything was Sam Bell Navis, and they were starting a NASCAR team. It's gonna be owned by the first, black owned NASCAR team, fully owned. And it was Sam Bell Navis and Tinsley Hughes. It was called BH Motorsports, and they had some logistical issues that didn't quite work out. So it kind of fell by the wayside. But that little taste to let me go to the shop and go to track for practice and stuff like that
Hmm.
really solidified my interest in being involved in it. And then I was still shopping the idea around. And I went by Ultra Motorsports and Timmy Cahoot, who was the GM at the time. So they're no longer a team. But I was talking to the receptionist, Miss Martha, and he just happened to walk by at the time. And he had a meeting with me. He talked. He said straight up, you're too old to be trying to do this. And honestly, it was. These guys start racing. These kids start racing in go karts at like 4 or 5 years old,
Right.
and here I am, 30. So that definitely wasn't going to work. So, but fortunately, some things bounced my way, and I decided I want to be on the pit crew, and it worked. And I didn't know at the time I was the first full time black pit crew member in the history of NASCAR. I
Hmm.
wasn't the first black guy to ever pit a car because Wendell Scott, when he was racing back in the 60s, sometimes he had to pit his own car
Right.
because
Right.
NASCAR was just totally different then. But I was the first one to do it full time to be hired by a team to do it. So but I never had an interest in. I never thought about what happened once I made the team. It's kind of like the dog barking behind the car, then the car stops. The dog has no idea what to do. So when I made the team, I was fortunate to be hired by a well-funded team. So we were contending for races and for championships. So it just all worked out. Right place, right
So who's
time.
your racing? Who's the racing team that you were part of?
Ultra Motorsports, and Ted Musgrave was the driver.
Okay.
And as a football guy, you can be a great player, but a great player in the wrong system never has a chance to show his greatness.
Right.
As you as a former Cowboy, me as a Cowboy fan, if Tom Brady went to the Dallas Cowboys, he probably would have never seen the field. But going to New England under Belichick, being there for a couple of years, learning, he was able to thrive. Now some consider him the GOAT.
The greatest of all time. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the team dynamic in pitting. What's the importance of it, and how does that work?
Well, everyone has a job to do, and you focus strictly on your job. For the team to work, again, as in football, everyone has to do their job. So me as a jack man, if I drop that jack too quick, they either can't put the tires on or can't take them off.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're on the left side, we're on the driver's side. The driver's signal to leave is me dropping the jack. So when I drop the jack, he just puts in gear and just takes off. So if I don't make sure the lugs are on tight, or if I don't hear that or get any kind of indication, and I drop it too fast, he takes off, you can have a wheel come off. Or it may not come off, but it may be vibrating and the car doesn't run well. Different things like that can really put us in bad positions. So everyone, all the tire changers have to make sure they get all the lugs tight. The tire carrier has to make sure they index that tire. They get it right the first time, not try to get it and then have to shift it around, because a track like Talladega or Daytona, and they just raced the Talladega last week, one position on a tenth of a second is 3 positions on the track.
Mm-mm.
So if you have a 9.2 second stop versus a 9.3 second stop, that can be the difference between first place and fourth place.
Wow.
And it's not like football where you get 4 downs. So you can have an interception and then just try it again, and you're just doing this over and over and over. For us, if you're at a track like Martinsville, where track position is very important and it's hard to pass, if you came in first place or second place, we had a bad pit stop, and you may come out in 8th or 9th place. It could take you very well, depending on how good the car is and what works out. It could take you half a race just to make those spots back up. If you can make those spots back up, that puts you in a position, and you may end up, because you're further back in the field, if a wreck happens, you got a better chance of getting caught up in it, being the cause of it, or being part of the indicators that caused it.
So in football, you have game, you have practice. How do you go about practicing what you do? And when do you do that? Does it involve the driver himself?
A lot of times it does. The drivers kind of get they get to be as involved in the week-to-week operations as they want to be. Now, with the good teams, the drivers come to pit practice because they want to know where's the best. Like, if you get too close to the wall, I can't jack the car as effectively. You get too far outside the wall, too far from the wall, you put us at risk of the cars coming in on our outside when they're going to go into their pit stop or pulling out. So he needs to know where he needs to, when he stops the car, where he needs to stop it, where in the pit box is best to stop it, or a place like Watkins Glen where we race backwards. So we pit on the right side, because normally we pit on the driver's side of the car.
Right.
In Watkins Glen, we pit on the passenger side of the car.
I never
So the
realized
driver
that.
comes in from the right-hand side. So he's coming in from a different position. And so that's something he never does any other time. So he has to know where to come in. We need to know how to set up. And even for us, it's different, because now we're coming out this way versus going out this way. And it doesn't seem like a big deal.
Practice?
Most teams will practice 3 times a week. Mondays, typically, we're off. Like a cup team. Mondays you're typically off because you're traveling back. It's either a travel day. If say you're out in California, if you're not a team, like most teams I was on, we had a chartered plane. So after the race, we piled everything up and we flew home that night, regardless of where we were. Some
Gotcha.
teams had to catch flights, and if the if it's too late to catch a flight, they got to spend another night in the hotel. So they got Monday's a travel day. So then we've got Tuesday. We practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we're heading off.
Back at it again.
That's typical. But if we're hitting on all cylinders, the crew chief may say, hey, we're only going to practice twice this week, or we're going to Watkins Glen. We may do an extra stop just to get familiar with, jacking on the other side of the car. Everything feeling normal to you. You want to do enough where everything feels normal to you. So you may have an extra practice or a longer practice.
So if I was to equate it to football, I had favorite games that I played well, performed well, throughout my time, especially at Michigan. What
Mhm.
was your track? What was your race that you were at your optimum, where you felt the best, where you performed the best? It was consistent, constant. It was good. What track was that? What race was that?
For us, it doesn't really work that way because like when you guys are playing, you're playing different fields, different temperatures, stuff like that. For us, our field is the pit box. So there's different tracks that have, like, I like Dover because Dover had bigger pit boxes. We had more room to operate.
Gotcha.
Talladega had smaller pit boxes, so it's a little tighter window. Um,
So Dover
South
was
Boston
one of
will
your
always be important to me because I got my first start there.
okay.
So that was a truck race. It's a short track. So I don't necessarily have a track that I'm better or worse at as an individual because I'm running around jacking up one side of the truck or the car. I come on the other side, I jack it up. Where I am, I could be in Siberia, for all it's concerned. It doesn't change anything because I'm literally. It's like if it's a lineman, your whole field is these three yards in front of you.
Right.
So it's more about who you're playing against. But for me, it's like golf. We're playing against ourselves. But the pit boxes, you kind of tune all that stuff out. But if I had to give you the best possible answer to that, it would be Dover because I like the size of their pit boxes.
Gotcha. So you kind of compared, some things between what you do in NASCAR and the pit crew as with golf. What other
Mm-hmm.
similarities are there between, what you were doing in the pit crew and golf?
Well, the golf ball goes where you hit it. No matter how mad you may get about the result, you hit the ball. It's your swing. It's nobody else's fault. If we're doing pit stops, as long as the driver stops where he's supposed to be, if I drop the jack too fast, that's on me. If I lift it up too soon, it's on me. Anything that happens is on me. So it's total accountability. And as somebody who plays golf, sometimes you get a gust of wind, that happens. Sometimes you got the jack up and the driver does something crazy and it slides off, or a lug gets hung on one of the lugs and stuff, on one of the tires.
Right.
Now we're having a long pit stop. It affects all of us, but it's not necessarily my fault. And when we have like you guys have the film, you look at, or now with the surfaces, they can look at what happened in play real time.
Right.
But like after every race, there's a camera over every race car, so it records our pit stop. After every pit stop, we go right around the pit box and we watch that stop to see where we were good, where we were bad. If something went wrong, we can identify it, and you can't hide it. Like
What's been your
if that
worst
wheel
experience
came
you've
off,
had?
huh?
What's been the worst experience you've had in the pit?
Worst experience.
Or most
I'm
challenging?
blessed that I never had really any bad ones. I had a couple of times our drivers like just came into because the car behind us was too far up in their pit box. So for the driver to be able to come in and stay inside the box and not be, in violation, he had me too close to pit wall. So instead of being able to just pump the jack one time and to be up, I'm having to do little short pumps like this, so it causes us to have some bad stops. So we had that happen a couple of times. But but I've never had a jack fall on me or anything like that. So that's always great. So I never had a problem in that, which is good because it kept me employed because NASCAR is one of those sports. You get fired mid-race.
What?
You can get fired in the middle of the race. They got backup guys there now. You can literally, you fired before the race is over. Somebody's
Wow.
replaced you. They're pitting the car. Right now, you just waiting on your ride home. And sometimes if a team has their own plane, you're a dead man flying.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
I've
is
seen.
crazy.
Yeah, imagine playing a game and suddenly, hey, where's Gerald? He gone. What you mean he gone? He gone. It ain't like they're gonna bring somebody in Monday, to work out and they're gonna release you. You done that.
That is wild.
But what's crazy, if the guy is good, he can mess around because everybody knows everything happens on pit road. So I've seen guys get fired and be hired before they get down to the end of pit road because they know where they're going.
That is
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a different sport. It's a different culture. Yeah, it's different in almost every possible way.
So, what made you decide not to do that and transition into, just doing clothing full time?
Well, I do clothing full time.
From NASCAR to.
Huh. Well, when I started, by the time I started William Wilson Clothing, I was already kind of phasing out of the NASCAR part of it because I still had my construction company. So I was working 7 days a week, 37 weeks a year for 6 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I say we show up at the track Thursday, and because I may pit a truck race for somebody, then pit a bush race. It was Bush Series time. Now it's Xfinity Series. And I may pit a cup race, on a Sunday. It's a lot of, you make a lot of money that weekend, but I had to come back and run my company. Now, fortunately, I had really good foremen that could handle things while I was gone. But yeah, I didn't have a day off for 37 straight weeks, 6 seasons a year. I did not have a day off for 6 seasons or 6 years.
For
Yeah.
6 years. Wow. That says a lot, man. You're resilient, brother. That's amazing.
Well, I was single, no kids, no girlfriend, so I had nothing. I could full commit to the job and the work. There was nobody complaining about not having time, or there was no one complaining about, well, you don't spend enough time together. And especially when you work every weekend for 37 weeks, because I was always a good team. So even the All-Star weekend, I was still having to work because our team's in the All-Star race or stuff like this.
Right.
So we were always involved. So I didn't have those kind of things to distract or pull away from. And I just believe you're going to do something to be great, you have to be fully committed.
Say so.
And I was fully committed to it.
Very nice. Well, all right, we're going to take a quick pause right here for the cause, and we'll return with more with William Wilson, the Clothier, on 102.9 The Game.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woo-hoo!
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP.
And we're back with William Wilson. So tell me, William, about your drive. What drives you? What inspires you? Where'd that work ethic come from? I mean, that's 6 years.
I get from my mother. And grew up in the country. I grew up where everyone worked hard. So hard work is all I knew. My mother taught me very early, especially as a black man in America, nothing was going to be handed to you.
Mm-hmm.
You had to work for sometimes you got to work twice as hard to be considered half as good.
Right.
So I'm like, I got to push. I can't control, like I said, grow up in the country. I didn't grow up with a bunch of connections or a silver spoon or have a Rolodex people to call. All I had was my work ethic. I'm like, you may do a lot more to be better than me in certain things, you may be faster, stronger, whatever, but you're not going to outwork me. And my motivation has always been to give my mother someone in her life that she could be proud of.
Okay.
So that's always been my motivation, not the money, not the fame. Like I said, when I first got in NASCAR, the hill was to make a team. Once I got there, I'm like, anything from that point was house money. So once I made the team, I'm like, anything happens past this is gravy. It didn't have to be really, really nice gourmet gravy when it worked out. But that's always been what pushes me to know if I can do it. I don't want to be 80 years old going, man, I wonder if I could have done this. I wonder if I could have done this. I'd rather be 80 and go, I remember trying this and I failed miserably. Or I remember doing this and it worked out very well. Because, and I tell people all the time, my accomplishments could fill a page. My failures could fill a book. But the thing is, most people only focus on the things that they see your accomplishments, the NASCAR championships, the Military Veterans Hall of Fame, the military career, all those things. They focus on that. They don't focus or you pay attention or acknowledge how many things you fail at or how much work it takes to getting there, what things you have to sacrifice to be successful there. Sacrificing relationships, sacrificing having a girlfriend, sacrificing going to the parties, sacrificing celebrating your birthdays and, those types of things, sacrificing all those things to achieve that primary goal.
The primary goal. So you spoke about military. How did you end up in the military? And what branch?
Navy, the only branch that really matters. Well, it is. You have more planes in the Air Force, and Marines are the Department of the Navy.
Okay.
So they're part of the Navy too. So we have our own ground pounders, we have our own planes, and we're in the water. I really don't really see the point of having Army, Marines, and Air Force, except for the people who could make Navy for something to do to still want to volunteer for the service. That's
Easy,
how I
easy,
see it.
easy.
I stand on that. But
Sure.
and it's funny because here in Savannah, when I flew in the two seats next to me were a couple of young men on the way to Paris Island for boot camp.
Okay.
And I came in, actually on my Instagram post, I posted a reel about that. And we all took a picture together and I spoke to them. And I joined in the late entry program. I signed up my junior year in high school.
Okay.
So in my junior year, I knew what day I was leaving after I graduated high school. So I graduated high school on May 20th. May 25th, I went to the MEP station and then flew out on the 26th for boot camp. So I went out of high school a week before I was in boot camp.
Before you're in boot camp. Why did you
But I
choose
knew I
to do
was
that?
Huh?
Why did you choose to go into the military?
Well, all the men I knew growing up were all vets. Like they were Vietnam vets or they were Korean War vets or they just served in general. So it just felt like a natural transition. And on top of it, I've always been a person that wanted to do, not read about. So, and like I love television. I love watching to this day. These people that say they don't have a TV in the house, I don't even understand how they function. But like I love watching television. And so I've seen all these places I wanted to see. I'm like, the Army's not gonna get me there.
Mm-hmm.
The Air Force ain't gonna get me there. Navy goes everywhere. So, and my stepdad had been in the Navy and he'd been in the submarine. He actually was in the Navy and in the Army. He got out of the Navy and joined the Army. So
I didn't know that was possible. Not that it, just never heard of that before.
yeah. So I knew I wanted to join the Navy. I scored really well on my ASVAB scores. I've always tested well and everything because I take standardized tests well. I've been very fortunate with that because I wasn't an athlete in school or anything like that. The only organized sport I've ever played or participated in was NASCAR. I grew 4 inches and 90 pounds after I turned 25. So I was like a short kid. So my only hope in life growing up was for my brain. Like I got to get a good job. So I was very blessed to be a late bloomer.
Gotcha.
But I wanted to see it. I wanted to do things, and the Navy gave me that best opportunity.
And the Military Veterans Hall of Fame. How'd you end up in that?
I have no idea. I checked my mail one day, and someone had nominated me, and I found out I was getting inducted to the North Carolina Military Veterans Hall of Fame. So it's like, cool. So I showed up, and it was really funny because the induction. I was in the inaugural class of 2018. So the induction was the same night as the All-Star race. So I literally left the induction and then had to drive to the track to put the jacket on the winner of the All-Star race.
How about that?
The same night.
What a blessing! What a blessing! That's
Yeah.
all right. We were talking in Boca last week, and I told you where I lived, and you'd mentioned something about hub submarines and stuff like that. Tell me that story about the submarines and what the Navy does and all that kind of stuff. Cape Canaveral story.
Yeah. Well, at the time, the space shuttle was taking off, and they had us in the water doing security. The first, like, why are we gonna do security? How are we gonna do security? What are we? Because I'm thinking security, like most people think, you're on top with guns, but we were actually there to make sure if anybody was underwater, we were still safe.
Gotcha.
So everybody underwater or above water to make sure, nothing was going to enter the space shuttle, the air of the space shuttle from our side, not from the water side. So we were there for protection for that.
Very nice. Very
cool.
So
I got to look through the periscope and watch the space shuttle take off.
Through the periscope. How cool is that? Very nice.
Very cool.
So this golf tournament that you're having in May 18th, it's for your foundation.
Yeah, but
Tell us about your foundation and what the golf tournament is raising money for.
Well, it's raising scholarship for raising money for domestic violence scholarship that started at Central Piedmont Community College. And it's, like I said, it's May 18th. I did have my own foundation, but this is the only event that we do to fund that. And if anybody knows that deals with nonprofit, well, you're on the board for a nonprofit, you know there's a lot of legal stuff and paperwork and board meetings and all this stuff you have to do. We don't do enough stuff to warrant all that extra work. So what I did, I partnered with CPCC. So we use their 501c3. So if somebody want to make a donation, they can make a donation directly to the foundation, to the university if they wanted to, and just put William Wilson Scholarship on it, and it would go to our scholarship if when they wrote the check. But really, we just want to be able to give a chance for domestic violence survivors or children of survivors be able to get out of that situation and go to school. So it's not a normal 4-year, like the 4-year classes.
Mm-hmm.
It's at a community college, so you can take classes on like to become or a course on becoming a personal trainer or a nutritionist or cosmetology. Things that that don't take as long to get skills in, get certification, so you can start a career. So you may want to start your own business. So instead of spending 4 years to get a degree in business, you may take a personal trainer course or nutritionist course and be done with both of those in 3 months. Now you have a skill set that you can apply to starting a job or getting hired somewhere and get out of that situation. Because some people, if you're in a domestic violence situation, you don't have to have 2 or 4 years to get out.
Right.
There's so many women in domestic violence situations, they're killed by their domestic partner. So the man or woman that's supposed to be protecting you and having your back will be the person that takes you out.
Wow.
Like Mike Phillips, the saxophone player, he plays my golf tournament a lot. And his first manager was killed by her partner.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Al
This
Wood.
happens more often than not, that right?
Every
That's
8 seconds. Every 8 seconds, someone somewhere is a victim of domestic abuse. And here's another thing: 1 in 4 females in college will be a victim of either some type of domestic or sexual abuse. 1 in 4.
1 in 4. Wow.
So if you got 20,
that's staggering.
So when you see 20 college females, there's a good chance 5 of them will be either sexually or domestically abused while they're in college.
Wow.
So those are things that people don't talk about.
Right.
And now when I first started the foundation, my motto was, "We fight for the people who cry in the dark." Because my mom was a domestic violence survivor. I saw her go to work every day. I see her go to work with shades on. And then when she get home, I see like her eye would be swollen, or she'd have her wrist would be wrapped up, or something like that. So, and I never saw it. I never saw it visually. I heard it happening. So, like I said, she's in a much better situation now. Thank God. And she was, and she's still here. Thank God. So many people. Yeah, so many people don't make it. They don't live, to make it through that time. So it's something very important to me.
Well, we really appreciate you, man, and coming on the show. As someone who's broken barriers, what message do you hope to convey, especially to our young people?
You can do anything in the world, but you can't do it alone. I've accomplished a lot of things. There's not a single thing in life I've ever accomplished without help. Like I said, Sam Bell Davis was the first person to talk to me when I want to get involved in NASCAR. When I decided I wanted to start William Wilson Clothing, James Chin, who owns Anna's Alterations, taught me how to measure in front of his register and let me go out to hang out in his shop in the back and watch them put suits and stuff, things like that. Everything I've ever accomplished, someone helped me do. So that's one thing I tell them. The second is, don't get so caught up in watching other people. And you know this, comparison is the thief of joy.
Preach, say more.
So many people they look online, they see the people with the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis, or they see them flashing the money, or they're in Aruba, or they're here, there, not knowing most of these people doing all this traveling, it's because they're doing it with their job. Their job got them in Vegas doing something, and so they get an expense account or their job or there's some event. They make it seem like they're doing this on their own. They're not. A lot of that is their greatest hits.
Right.
Now, some people like when I posted when we were in Boca, That's what we were doing. We were hanging out. That's what we were doing. But we put a lot of work in ahead of time to have that available to us.
Right.
We don't want a bunch of where was all these 16-year-olds that's on social media flossing all the places where they're at? They ain't there.
Right.
When I fly out next Sunday to George Lopez's golf tournament, you're not gonna see a bunch of 17-year-old YouTubers and all this other stuff doing this because they're not at these events. These are people who put in that real work that have really accomplished something for real. So let's put in work and I'll tell them you have to have people have right now a very vitriolic relationship with time. Everyone thinks they have to have it all figured out by the time they're 25. I didn't start William Wilson Clothing till that was 2005. I was 35. I was 33 when I started my Archimex, my construction company. I started William Wilson Clothing. I was 38. My rookie year in NASCAR, I was 33. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So you don't have to have it all figured out right now. Just take the time, find out what you love to do. And there's two schools of thoughts about this. Some people say, find your passion and you'll find a way to work in your passion and you'll always love it. I used to think that. I don't know if I believe that so much now because I love playing golf when I have to. But if I wouldn't love golf the way I do now if I was on tour and I have to do it to make money and I have to do it this because just even to keep it up with the Break 85 schedule with all everything else that I'm doing. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to play golf today. It just makes me mad. So sometimes I think being able to do something away from your passion allows that passion to stay your passion.
To be able to stay your passion. Yeah.
So I think it depends on who the individual is. But I tell people 4 things. One, or at least 3. 1, learn all the rules for yourself. When you got to the team, you had to learn your own playbook. You can depend on somebody else to teach you the playbook because you were taking somebody's job. If you come in as a wide receiver, you can't expect the wide receiver that you may be replacing to teach you everything he knows. He's going to purposely sabotage you. But if you learn for yourself, you're not at the hand of someone else. And I tell people also, broke people give broke advice. And I don't always just mean from a money standpoint. What I'm saying is a broken mindset.
Exactly.
A person with a broken mindset can only tell you broken things. I'm sure 95 to 99% of the people, when you decide you want to be in the NFL, told you wouldn't make it. And you were told you couldn't make it by people who have no idea what it takes to make it.
Yeah.
They don't know what it takes. They weren't willing to do 2-a-days. They weren't willing to eat right. They weren't willing to work in the off season. All the things that you did to end up with that Dallas Cowboy helmet on, they weren't willing to do, but they kept telling you all the reasons why you couldn't.
And at the end of the day,
their mindset was broken.
Yeah. And at the end of the day,
That's
you
why
gotta love it.
Exactly. But you also have to believe in yourself.
Right.
When I was deciding to get a NASCAR, most of my friends to this day don't watch NASCAR. I say maybe 3% of my friends actually watch NASCAR. So there were times I'm trying to do something. Sometimes people just don't even understand what it is you're trying to do. Some people support you, some people don't. But another thing is don't fall in love with the cheers and don't be taken out by the jeers.
We're going to stop you right there. I appreciate that. I thank you for being on the show, William. And thank you all for tuning in to White Noise on 102 The Game, powered by Bleacher Brothers Sports Network and Riptide Media Network. You got to love it. Thank you.